What is going on, everybody? So this one's kind of an impromptu. Give me 1 second while I check. I'm gonna make sure sound and stuff is good. I'm paranoid about this thing every time. All right, cool, cool. What's up? How y'all doing? I'm gonna send out the link, so just give me a second too while I do that. Again, I don't have a quick and easy way to do this. I do it manually every time. So as soon as it goes live, I'm sharing the link out. That's the only way I know how to do it right now. So uh, let's see. Well, hold on. Do it from the computer this time. Usually I do it from my phone, but I think it'll go smoother if I just do it from here. There we go. We'll do it like that. Let's see. I've got somebody else here. I've got a couple people I send it to. A couple of individuals. I just make like a generic post. Everybody. It's been a few days since I've been live. I'm still dealing with all that fun stuff, the congestion, sinuses and stuff. The cough isn't near as bad as it was. Anybody who has been watching the last few videos, it's been rough. I've been coughing crazy. No, no fun at all. One more thing. What am I doing here? Host. All right. All right. Let's most anticipated movies of 2024. Actually, type 2025. I've hold on. Let me. There we go. What's up, Jay Holland? Your ear got bad. Hey, bro. I'm telling you, these ears. Was it hurting? Was it like a throb? Normal? 'Cause if it was a throb, I'm willing to bet you have an ear infection too. For those watching now or in the future, um, I had yeah, okay, yeah, so did they say you have an infection? Is it a hearing infection? Or an ear infection, not a hearing infection? Let me see. Oh, yeah, there we go. Post. Uh, one thing I've been doing too more is Threads. It's kinda fun. I'm gonna do this because my people on YouTube have no idea. Severe ear infection, yep. Me and you both, brother. Mine's supposed to be, mine's not so bad now. It's gone I won't say gone away, but it's gotten a lot better. Say that. I don't think I can just share straight to Threads. I think I have to just yeah, okay, cool. And then there we go. Alright, them strong meds. Hey, you got better than me. They didn't wanna give me the strong stuff. They got me they got me on just the standard, "Here, take this for 10 days, and if it's not better by then we'll extend it for another 10." Tomorrow's the end of my 10 days, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna get right into this here in a second. No homo. I don't know if I do don't know how. You got the setup finished and everything? I'll just have to do it from the mobile. I'll have to do it mobily. Again, man, I'm telling you. I need a better system for this. That's one reason I like doing it. I use a some I go for a different program on here, and that's one reason why I like my other program that I use for the game, because on that one, I can my I can go for as long as I want. I can take as long as I want in the beginning, so it gives me time to do all this stuff right here, before I ever even go on live, but this one, it gives me 30 seconds, and I'm not fast enough to knock it out in 30 seconds. Let's see here. I really don't know how I wanna do it. We'll just do it like this. Right here, looks pretty sweet. Add a link. Look at this. Getting savvy over here. There we go. As I discuss my most anticipated movies. 24. There we go. Now then, it looks all professional. I gotta bring the best of the best quality. This is impromptu too. There was no planning whatsoever into this. I was sitting here, I was doing some writing, and, I decided, I said, "You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and go live and talk about this because I was already thinking about it. I might as well talk about it." Alright, cool, cool. Let me get my list pulled up over here so I can reference. I don't get lost 'cause I'm prone for that. Um, some cool stuff real fast. So, I've watched 2 movies this year, and, Night Swim, I watched what weekend was that? Was it last weekend they come out? Night Swim? Um, and I don't think I even went live. I said I was gonna post a short, I'll probably still do that. Um, I don't have much to say, it was okay. And then just a while ago, I just got home probably an hour ago, um, from watching David Ayer's new movie, The Beekeeper, and I'm gonna keep about that one reserved because I have a another review with Snorkeling with Dad, planned for that one. So, hold up, line up. I have another review with Snorkeling with Dad coming up with The Beekeeper, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. I'm just gonna say, go watch it, and then, be waiting for next week when I go live with Snorkeling, we can talk about it. Kinda like we do with Five Nights at Freddy's for anybody who caught that video. We went live and talked about it, kinda gave a detailed review. We weren't eye to eye, but we were pretty close. I have a feeling we'll be similar with Beekeeper, but I don't know. It's kind of a wild card. It sits in a place where either if you like what it's doing, you're really gonna like it. If you don't like what it's doing, I can't see you liking it very much. So it kinda sits on like a teeter, like when you try to balance a light switch. That's kinda where Beekeeper's at, and I fell on one end or the other, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna leave it to surprise. So for when that comes up, uh what am I saying when that comes up? When, I lost myself. Alright, I am going to first, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do some honorable mentions because so when it comes to most anticipated of the year, I do have a list. I have a list, on Letterboxd Public, again, just like I said with the, end of the year one, my 2023 one, it's public. You can spoil a lot of the stuff that I've talked about here. You can spoil a lot of that by following me over there because it's public and you can just see, "Oh, I don't have to listen to him talk about it because I can look at this list right here." If that's something I'm gonna do, but I am gonna talk about it. And right now I have 13 movies on my list for what I'm anticipating for this year. And the reason it's not higher because there are other movies that if you Google movies coming out in 2024, there are other movies on that list that I am excited about, but a lot of the films that I was looking forward to or and kinda looking forward to are not they're listed, they say they're coming out this year, but there's no release date, and I'm kind of iffy about putting it on here with no release date because this year's gonna be a tricky one because after the strikes and stuff of last year, a lot of that stuff got delayed to this year, and those delays are still iffy. So, they got delayed to this year, but they can still be pushed, and we just saw that, with there's something I can't even remember, off the top of my head, something else just got delayed again, and so if it doesn't have a release date, it's not except save for one. There's one on here that doesn't I think 1 or 2 on here that don't have a release date that I put on here anyways. Oh, I do know which one just got delayed, and I'll talk about it later 'cause it is on the list. Because when I put it on the list, it had a release date, and here within the last couple of days, there's so much news it's just been day after day, just boom, 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 something new, something new, something new with the casting, with the directing, with the studio, with, again, delays, and so I don't know what's going on. It has been a very packed month so far. For not even the first half of the month, it has been so packed with news that I you can't keep up with it. Every day I open X, I actually called it right the first time that every day I open X or Threads or Instagram or wherever I'm opening up, I'm kinda trying to see what's going on. It's new. There's something new happening. Alright. To do before I get into my list, I'd like to do some honorable mentions. But I gotta pull up the list. What else can I 'cause I'll forget something if I don't. Hear me typing. Okay, here we go. So, honorable mentions, and I have them. Okay. So, I'm gonna go from least to most. I think that's my favorite. So I'm gonna reverse it on mine. Okay, so this one, I don't know if it has a release date yet. Okay, cool. Alright, so I'm just gonna do some honorable mentions real quick. Movies that didn't make or I'm not gonna say didn't make my list, movies that haven't made my list yet. There are movies that on here that didn't make my list, and then there's some that haven't made it yet because I don't know, whether it's a release date thing or I just need to hear more about it. Um, and the first one in honorable mentions is gonna be Deadpool 3. It didn't make my list because I am kind of sitting in a spot about Deadpool 3 where I don't have confidence that it's gonna be good. I kinda have a gut feeling that it's not gonna be good. And that worries me a little bit because, it's like, "Oh, man." The first one is fantastic. The second one is not as good, but the third one here, the thought of bringing Hugh Jackman back and putting him in the classic Wolverine suit and you're gonna be fighting, that all sounds great and awesome. That's that's like, okay, that's, most anticipated of the year material. But my problem is all of the rumor cameo I mean, there's so many talks about, "Oh, there's gonna be all these different cameos, all these other heroes that are gonna be making an appearance." There's celebrities that are gonna be playing roles. I just heard about Taylor Swift is rumored to be showing up as somebody, and it's to me, that every new announcement like that dampens my excitement even a little bit every time, and so when it was like, "Oh, this hero is rumored to be in it," it goes down a little bit. "Oh, this person's rumored to be in it." "Oh, they're casting it's possible that Taylor Swift is playing a hero as a surprise cameo." And so, little by little, they're chiseling away at my excitement. I hope it's good. I hope it's great. I where they left off with that's another thing too that kinda has me weary about this as much as I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think they ended it perfect with Logan, and I don't think that he needed to come back. While I think, it's gonna be cool to see him, I think he's gonna come I honestly, I think he's probably gonna be the strongest part of the film. Either way, whether good or bad, I suspect him to be my favorite part, but I just don't know if they have good enough material to warrant resurrecting Hugh Jackman's Wolverine for this appearance. I don't think he's definitely not coming back permanent. He's not back. He's here for this movie, and I don't think they're gonna send I don't think they're I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see them being able to top the send off that Logan gave him. So, because of that, I couldn't put it in my most anticipated because while I am gonna watch it, I'm gonna watch it opening weekend, and I am excited to see Hugh Jackman again. I'm excited to hear Ryan Reynolds do his thing, but I have so much I can't even say I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm about to create a new term. I am, um, reluctantly pessimistic. That's what I am about this movie. It's reluctant pessimism. I'm not happy to not be excited for it, but I just can't help it. I'm worried. And so hopefully it proves me wrong. But yeah, Deadpool. I guess I can kinda do what I was doing with the ranking. I am gonna do that. So, you say you're gonna see something crazy. Here, let me go ahead and get my next movie up. This movie did not make the list for one reason. So I'm gonna go ahead my next one is an honorable mention. Let's see what we got. What do we got? Who's Argylle. I I hope Argyle's good. I think I'm gonna enjoy it. It's the Kingsman guys. What's their names? You're about to see it. What do we got? Yeah, Matthew Vaughn did Kingsman, and, which I really like Kingsman a lot, and he something else notable. Oh, yeah. So Matthew Vaughn, I'm a fan of Matthew Vaughn. I think he's got a really fun style. He does action great and just a fun thing. I think for me, personally, and I'm definitely in the minority, I'm probably gonna be the only person to say this ever. I think The King's Man from 20 what was that, 2021? Maybe 2020, but I think it was 2021. I think that's my favorite by him that I've seen. Um, so I'm excited about this one. The reason it didn't make my list is because to me, the trailer just makes it look so generic. I'm kinda sick of the writer well, I was feeling okay, I'm gonna just tell you, when we're watching the trailer for the first time, and I'm in the theater a lot, so I can't help but see some of these trailers, and if you watched my end of the year ranking that I did, I say it multiple times there that I don't like trailers. I avoid trailers as best I can, especially for films that I'm really excited for. Sometimes you can't help it. and I'm in the theater enough that I see a lot of trailers, and so I'm watching this trailer and I'm like, "Okay, oh, cool, Henry Cavill." I like Henry Cavill a lot. Okay, cool, what is this, like, he's a spy? What do we got? Okay, Dua Lipa's in here, it's got kind of a fun it's flashy, the action looks kinda cool. Oh, it's the Kingsman guy? Let's go. And then it does and John Cena? Oh, John Cena's in it, I love John Cena, I think he's one of the funniest people working in the industry today. And then it freeze frames, they go, "No," and then the writing kinda falls, and I was just it was kind of a head in the hand moment 'cause, like, we've had so many of these come out, and I'm so bored with this plot line of the writer who's the reclusive writer who's writing the story, and somehow or another, they get thrust into their own story, and I hope this is more than that, but the trailers have sold that. That's what this story is. Now, there's a lot of talent here. I like I just said, I love Henry Cavill, I love John Cena, Samuel L. Jackson's in here, Sam Rockwell is great, Matthew Vaughn behind the camera is very exciting. Dua Lipa is making, I guess, her acting debut, at least mainstream. This is the only thing I know of. I'm not saying that I'm not the authority on that. This is certainly probably the biggest thing she's acted in, if she has acted before. So, there are a lot of things here to look forward to be excited about, and I am. I think the action is gonna be great. I think the characters are gonna be fun. I just am kind of I'm bored with that plotline of the reclusive writer being thrust into their own story. That to me, that's so played out. We've seen it over and over again. We just got it. That wasn't last year. What was that 2022 with Lost City and Sandra Bullock? That just happened. We just got that, and there's been another one too. There's another one that just happened too, and I can't think of what the film was, where it was and then you had the Kevin James one, the Netflix movie. What was it? The Memoirs of the International Assassin or something like that? It's the same thing. This story has been done so much within the past decade that I'm kinda bored with it. I think it's gonna be fun. That's why I'm still excited for it. That's why it's an honorable mention. I think it's gonna be fun. Another thing I'm kinda worried about too is the CGI. There's some rough spots in the trailer, specifically with the cat, where you see some shots and it's like, "Ooh." I really hope they I really hope it's not CG heavy, which his other films haven't been too bad, so I don't expect it to be, but as long as I'm naming concerns. Um, yeah, I think it's gonna be fun either way. I just I just couldn't put it on my main list because of just a couple of things. I told you the cough was better, I didn't say it was gone. Um, here we go. My next honorable mention, if I can get the poster to load. I clicked too fast. Kung Fu Panda 4. Look, I love the first 2 Kung Panda. I love the first Kung Fu Panda movie so much, it's ridiculous. I love it too much. And then the second one, I think, is and there are some elements of it I think it does better than the first one, and then there are some elements I think the first one's better, but it's right there with it. The second one is so strong in quality. The third one dips in quality for me, but it's still so strong, and it capped off in a strong way. I didn't need a 4th one. When they announced the 4th one and that Jack Black was coming back, everybody's coming back, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of excited. I was like, "Okay, cool." Everybody's coming back. Jack Black's kind of he's reignited in the mainstream with his Bowser performance. Everybody's talking about him again, and everybody's loving his singing again, and not that he was ever really gone, but now he's just kind of been thrust back into the upper echelon. but my love for the original movies is exactly the reason this is just an honorable mention, because I really, really don't want them to ruin it. They had such a strong track record, even though the 3rd one, like I said, it dipped in quality, um, pretty big between the 2. I think there are a lot of strong things about the 3rd one still, obviously, I said I love it already, um, but I'm worried about it, and plus with Awkwafina joining in, I'm not an Awkwafina fan, I talked about that when I did my Renfield review. I just do not like Awkwafina for some rea nothing against her personally, but to me, I don't think she's funny and her voice is really grating. To me, she's forced. Every time I hear her make jokes, I'm like, You're forcing just let the jokes flow naturally." Um, but yeah, so Kung Fu Panda. My next honorable mention, this will probably be my last one. I'm looking at them, and I think this is a pretty good solid honorable mention list. Godzilla versus Kong, Lizard versus Monkey. I enjoyed the first one a lot. I enjoyed Skull Island pretty good. I enjoyed Godzilla 2019 pretty good. Um, for me, they're getting better as they go along, as they realize more and more what people like. They're it seems like they're leaning more into it, and the more I hear about this movie and what people are saying about it, and the more I'm like, "Okay, yeah, they definitely realized what the audience likes." Why it's an honorable mention and didn't make my list, I just it like I said, I really liked the first Godzilla versus Kong. I thought it was a lot of fun. I didn't I thought it was fun. Me and my brother, it was still kind of it was at the tail end of the pandemic. Me and my brother went and saw it at the theater, and we're the only people there, and we just kinda had fun with it. We kinda treated it like a sporting event where we was like, "Yeah, let's go." We was treating it like we was watching UFC, and we were placing our bets on who was gonna win each round, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I it's not a great movie by any means. You're not it's not winning any awards, but I had a lot of fun with it, and I think the next one's just gonna be the same. I think they're going to improve in the terms of, from what I've already been hearing, that there are sequences where it's just long sequences just focusing on Godzilla versus Kong, the not versus Godzilla. I think one of the things was it's like a 8 6 to 8 minutes or something like that scene, chunks where you're just with the monsters and you're getting to spend time with them, and you're not having to worry about human characters, which is everybody's weakest that's what everybody simultaneous or not simultaneously, unanimously agrees is the biggest flaw in all of these movies is the focus on the human characters. With the success of Godzilla Minus One, I'm obviously, it's too quick of a turnaround, I don't think it changes anything, but I think maybe they'll I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of excited about it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, I think it's gonna be more like the first one. Not the first, but the previous one. I think they're gonna improve on it a little bit, but we'll just have to see. We'll have to see. You know what? I'm gonna do one more because everybody's talking about this, and I gotta give horror some shout out in the honorable mention, and that's gonna be Terrifier 3. I have an interesting relationship with Art the Clown. No homo. Um, if that even applies. I don't know. I don't know what he is. He's some entity. Um, I he first appeared as far as I know, I think his first appearance was All Hallows Eve. I hate that movie. I I hate All Hallows Eve. It's one of the hardest watches that I think I've ever done, where you're just sitting and watching a film and you're just waiting on it to end. That's one of the hardest. I really dislike All Hallows Eve big time. The first Terrifier, I did not like at all. I didn't hate it the way I did All Hallows Eve, but I did not like the first Terrifier at all. there were elements of it that I could give props to, the practical effects, the way they handled the budget, I think I think it's admirable, cool, good stuff. I do not like it at all. The second one was a massive improvement. I didn't love it the way everyone else did. I was happy, like, "Good job. I'm glad you are, um, getting the recognition," I guess you could say. I'm glad you stepped it up and you're getting I don't wanna say praise, kind of. I'm glad he that he was successful. We'll say that's what I'm looking for. I'm glad it was successful. It wasn't my favorite, but I enjoyed it a lot better. This one, I think, has potential to be even better because it seems like with each outing, um, Leon, Damien Leone, it seems like he's learning with each outing what people want, especially with the last one. You know, there are a lot of things I really liked. I liked it. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I really liked it. It wasn't my favorite, and that's just because that's the nature of indie and when you have indie films and stuff, that the nature of them, it just invites it just invites quality to be analyzed. I'm just saying words. It doesn't make any sense. Um, and I'll just kinda list a couple more that I'm looking at here that I don't really have a lot to say. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, ready to see it. I have a few reservations, like Matt Reeves obviously isn't involved. He maybe as a producer or something like I don't know, but he didn't write it, he's not directing, and so I think that's not worrying, but it's, you know, could possibly be a cause for concern. But, I'm looking forward to it. But I gotta make sure what's on my list and what didn't make um, Dune 2, I liked the first Dune, I didn't love it. I need to rewatch it because when I first watched it, I was kind of a little under the weather when I first watched it. When was that? 21? Was that 2021? I think so. 21 or 22. It was 20. I enjoyed it. I need to rewatch it, but, I expect the second one to be good, you know? I expect it to be good, and maybe on rewatch of the first one, maybe Dune 2 will end up make the main list. But as of now, it's comfortably in an honorable mention. Um, Dead Reckoning was on there, but it got pushed, so that was one of the delays I was talking about. It got delayed, so, Rebel Moon Part 2, I guess, I don't know. I haven't seen the first Rebel Moon. Um, I'm waiting for the full cut to drop. I figured I'm not even gonna bother with the edited cut. I'm just gonna watch the full thing. And so I haven't seen the first one, so that one, I'll put it on here because I like Snyder. So we'll see, maybe Rebel Moon makes my most anticipated. Maybe I cross it off of even being an honorable mention. Technical difficulty, not really. Interruption, say that. Let's see. But yeah, so Rebel Moon, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll see if I like the first one. Um, and if I don't like the first one, then who knows? Maybe that's not even on there at all. Venom 3, maybe. Who knows? I think the first Venom is fun, but very flawed. The second one is less fun and more flawed. I hope with 3 they rein it back in, but I don't have a lot of faith in Sony. I mean, Madam Web, I think it's terrible. Kraven the Hunter looks disappointing already. Just the direction they went already kinda looks disappointing. I don't wanna completely write it off, but I'll watch it. I'm an Aaron Taylor Johnson fan. So yeah, that doesn't give me a lot of hope for Venom 3 either. But I like Tom Hardy a lot. So at the very least, we have that. I'll do one more, um, and that's this one, A Quiet Place, Day One. I like Lupita Nyong'o. That's how you say her name. I'm sorry. I don't butcher her name. Um, I think she's one of the more prominent actresses. I don't wanna say up and coming, but kind of up and coming. She's already kind of hit, and she's just growing. And so she's kinda like Margot Robbie 5 years ago, or I'll go even farther than that, maybe a little Margot Robbie 10 years ago. That's kinda how I feel about Lupita right now, where she was in Us, which was kind of, I think that was my big introduction, and then Black Panther, which was just boom, there she is. I think Black Panther was first. It was just like, there she is, then she was in Us, obviously Black Panther Part 2. And so I think she's a big star on the rise, and so I'm excited about whatever she's doing, and I like the previous 2 Quiet Place movies. I'm in the minority, but I really, really like the second one, and some days I prefer the second one to the first. Um, and so, yeah, I'm ready to see what they do with it, you know? It's an honorable mention because, you know, it has potential to swing way the other way, because of the it's just different people involved, but we'll see. Now I'm gonna start the main list. I gotta switch which screen. Forgot, 'cause the way I have it set up. So, where here we go. So, the bottom of my most anticipated, and this one I just added, and I don't know when the release date is, so I'm gonna check on that here too, but I am excited for this one for different reasons than I am for the other ones, and that is Shelby Oaks. This is the Chris Stuckman movie. He's been working on this one for a while, and I was kinda following it for a while, and it kind of dropped off my radar a bit. Let me see. It says July. That's all it says, so we'll see. This is one of those that it doesn't have a locked in release date, so I was kind of, teetering on whether or not to include it, but I said, "You know what? This one's kinda different from the others." This one's exciting because I followed Chris Tucker for a long time. Um, he was the first in terms of my introduction to movie YouTube, he was the first, and I guess he was kind of everybody's since he was one of the first to do it. Um, and I really liked Chris. What was interesting about Chris Tucker when I was watching him as a teenager, when I was watching him, I was, you know, 14 and 15 when I started watching Chris Stuckman, and he was inspiring because I was watching a fellow film lover, and he was talking about his love for film and how he had the passion to make his own films, and I followed him and kind of grew with his channel as I was growing, as I was writing, and, I haven't talked a whole lot about my personal filmmaking journey. I haven't really talked a whole lot about it, but I started writing very early on, and this time, when I really started getting into Chris Tucker stuff, I was really, really writing, and I was excited, because here I was watching somebody who's passionate about movies and wanted to make his own, and so that was inspiring, and when I found out about his short, the theater, what was I'm gonna check. He had the theater one, where it was like it was Auditory 6, that's what it's called. It was just it was inspiring, it was exciting, here's just a guy, I live in Ohio, which is also where he's at, and so she's like, "Here's a guy who lives maybe an hour away from me, who is who shares my passion for this, who's also on the same journey, different details, but the same journey in spirit." And here he is, he's been in with Auditorium 6, and then when I heard about Shelby Oaks, I was super excited, and I forgot that it was even coming out this year. It seemed like it was so far off that when I found out, "Oh, yeah, Shelby Oaks is coming out this year," instantly, I was like, "Yeah, it's gotta go on my list." And, it's like I said, it's different from the others in the sense that I'm not excited because it's an established director, or it's a franchise that I'm excited about, or it's, a story that I'm excited I don't know what the story is. I have no idea what Shelby Oaks is, but simply just because it's Chris Stuckman making his feature film directorial debut, somebody who I looked up to for a long time, and he's making his first feature film, and I'm excited. I hope he knocks it out of the park, and so, yeah, that's number 13. This is not I wanted to hit 15, but I was just that was iffy. I was iffy on it. Um, Next up, now this one's completely different because this one is strictly because of the director, and that is Alien Romulus, whatever it's called, however you say it, the next Alien movie. I Look, I love Alien. I love Aliens. Alien 3, I think, is overhated. I think it's okay. I think it's a pretty good I don't it's okay. It's my least favorite adventure film. It's not my least favorite of this franchise. Um, and if you skip the first couple of minutes where they talk about where they completely undo the ending of the previous one, it's a fun, isolated alien adventure with some fun sequences. And that I really don't like Alien Resurrection at all. What are the other ones? I don't even know all the Alien movies. Not off the top of my head. Um, then you had the Ridley Scott ones where you had Prometheus, interesting, cool ideas, some really dumb stuff. Covenant, kind of the same boat. It seems like Covenant was like a half and half where didn't wanna completely go back to the Alien formula, but didn't wanna break com or didn't wanna stick to what everybody loved about Alien franchise so much, but he didn't wanna completely break away from what he was building with Prometheus, so it's like this weird middle ground, and so Covenant's just kind of it floats right through. So really, only the first 2 are movies that I really love, and I think the 3rd one's okay. So, I really didn't care about another Alien movie, I was just like, "I don't care." Kinda how I feel about Terminator now. It's just like, I really don't care. If it comes out, okay, it comes out, but I'm not excited about them. And then when I heard who was directing this, I got excited, and that's the only reason it's here, and that's because it's Fede Alvarez. If that's I've heard people say Fede Alvarez, I'm gonna say Fede. Mr. Alvarez. We'll do that. A lot of name butchering in this video. Um, Look, Fede Alvarez, I heard him by one of my favorites on YouTube was talking about this movie in particular, was talking about Fede Alvarez as the director, and I heard the it's not really an analogy, but I guess kind of the analogy that he's just kind of like this horror god that's just sitting and lying in slumber, and he's just waiting to come out, and every now and then he just comes out and just hits you with a banger. Like, "Here you go, just boom, bless you with this awesome movie." And he just kinda floats back, and he just injects just adrenaline into the community. Man, that cracked me up. I was like, "Yeah, 'cause kind of." You know, you had Evil Dead 2013, which was awesome, awesome. And you had Don't Breathe, which not quite on the level of Evil Dead 2013. Don't Breathe was great too, and came out of nowhere. I that movie just completely blindsided me, where it was just like, "Wow, wh where did this come from?" And so, that's what he is. He just kinda he lies in wait and then just comes out with a banger. And I can't help but be excited about this because it's like that's how he's been with those others, and maybe that's the case here. I hope it's the case here. I would love to get a fantastic Alien movie, and if he can bring even just most of what he brought to Evil Dead, then I'm I'm all in. The next one, I'm gonna check I don't think this one has a release date either. I'm gonna check real fast. Some of these I just put on here. Okay, this one does have have a release, so we'll see. Next up, and this one's here, again, kind of like the previous one, Trap. I didn't even know this existed until 2 days ago. This is M. Night Shyamalan's next film, and I know nothing about it, but it's here specifically because I love M. Night. M. Night is love him or hate him, you know, he in my opinion, he's one of the most interesting directors working today. Honestly, in my opinion, he's one of my favorite directors. Despite having some pretty big stinkers in his filmography, he's still one of my favorite directors because when he hits hard. Um, I don't think his misses at the very other than 2 out of his filmography that I just really don't like at all. Um, I think all of his films at the very least are interesting because this is a guy who just likes swinging for the fences. And last year he had Knock at the Cabin, which I thought I really enjoyed it a lot. It had one major problem for me, and I talked about it more in depth in my, 2023 ranking. I get into it a little bit, I guess, here. If you wanna cut the the flashbacks out of Knock at the Cabin, for me, that movie goes up a whole star, which I think I gave it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It would have now I'd have to see it before I could say definitively, but in my mind, just thinking about it, I think I could confidently say it might would hit at an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 because the Dave Bautista stuff that and the stuff that happens in the cabin, great, phenomenal stuff. Dave Bautista, awesome performance, and it's tense and it's nerve-wracking, and it makes you think, you know, you sit there and the whole time you're thinking, "Wow, what would I do in this situation? I don't know. I don't know. This is tricky because as much as you it's like, ain't no way. I'm not sacrificing myself. I'm not killing one of my loved ones off of what a stranger is telling me, but they're so convincing in what they're saying, and Dave Bautista is so convincing, and then you get the news stuff, and it's hard. You sit there and you think, "Wow, what if you were really faced with this decision?" And it really makes you think. And to me, it would be on such a high where I'm just like, "Dude, this is fantastic." And then it would cut, and it would go to a flashback, and you see the adoption process of how they adopted the daughter. It's just like, "Dude, you're killing me." The pacing is just taking a nosedive every time you do this. And so that was my own and that was really my only and I guess the ending was it kind of just ended, there really was no conclusion. It just kind of whimpers it ends on a whimper. Um, and so I guess maybe but I honestly think if you fix, for me, the flashback and you find more interesting ways to introduce those elements, which all the flashbacks is really doing is just trying to show you how strong this family unit is. I think there's more interesting ways out there you probably could have done it instead of just showing it to us. and not only just showing it to us, but interrupting the interesting stuff to show it to us. I think if you fix that, the movie, it's it improves so much. I don't know. I can't say definitively because I haven't seen that version of the film. Anyway, I really love M. Night, and when I heard he had a movie coming out this year, 2 days ago, I instantly threw it on the list. It's listed to come out in August, so, maybe I'll get a birthday movie. Who knows? Maybe it'll be a good birthday movie for me. Yeah, I'm excited for no reason other than it's M. Night. At the very least, I think it's gonna be interesting. This one here had a release date, and now it doesn't. It's been delayed indefinitely. I still think it'll probably come out this year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. And a lot of these, it's just me just talking about reputation because I don't know anything about this movie either. This is another one I know nothing about. I don't know the premise. I don't know what if it's based on anything. Nothing. All I know is Bong Joon and Robert Pattinson, and that was enough. It was enough to get me excited. Parasite, hold on. It just comes out of nowhere. Parasite was one of my favorite movies of what was that, 2019? I love Parasite, and I've watched it again recently, because my brother watched it for the first time, and he was like, "Dude, this movie is great." You know what? And yeah, it's awesome. And I've just been kinda waiting to see what happens, what's next? What do you got coming next? And it just so happens to be with one of my favorite actors working today. I think he's kind of one of the kings of the indie scene, especially there for a while you had movies like Good Time and stuff like that where it was just everybody knows him as the Twilight guy. I mean, I guess now it's Batman. But everybody was calling him just Twilight guy. "Oh, it's the guy from Twilight." And he was just knocking them out of the park on the indie film or the small, weird film scene. And he was just knocking them out of the park, just boom, boom. And so I really like Pattinson, and I really like this director. I've been waiting to see what he's got up his sleeve next, and it just so happens to be, with a great actor. So I'm excited for it. I don't know about it, so I don't know what else to say. Next up, I know about the same that I just said about that one is the same, is the same that I know about this one. It's the same reason that this one's on here. Havoc, and the only again, I don't know anything about what this movie is about, nothing. All I know is it's Tom Hardy starring, and it's directed by Gareth Edwards. I get him and the other guy mixed up. Evans. So you have Gareth Edwards, who's the Road One guy, who's the creator, and then you have Gareth Evans, who did The Raid, and he did, The Raid 1 and 2. He did, what was the one, Apostle was, uh, just really interesting guy. Action, this guy is just an action director aficionado, and when you pair him with Tom Hardy and it's gonna be a bloody R-rated action movie, let's go. That's all I need to hear. Again, I have nothing of substance to say about it other than I'm excited. It's action crime thriller starring, again, one of my favorite actors working today with an extremely interesting director. This one was almost just an honorable mention because I had very little faith that it's gonna come out this year. I still don't expect it to come out this year, but they have a release date for it, so we'll see. And that is Jordan Peele's next movie. That's it. There's no name for it. There's no details for this movie whatsoever. The only thing is it's Jordan Peele's next one, and it comes out on Christmas. I almost just put it in the, um, honorable mentions because I don't know. Highly I'm very skeptical that it comes out this year. Skeptical of the release date, we'll say that. Because there's no details about this whatsoever. There's not a title. I last I checked, there wasn't even a cast. Is there even a cast here? No, there's not even a cast. So there's no cast, there's no title, there's no synopsis, nothing. It's just Jordan Peele's next movie comes out on Christmas, and I had to put it on here because I've loved all 3 of his previous movies. I won't say love. Love is a strong word. I really liked Get Out. It's a a bit overhyped, but I really liked it. Us, the first half of Us is fantastic. Everything once they get to escape the house and go to the neighbor's house, I'm not gonna spoil it. Go to the neighbor's house. From that point on, it really dips for me, and it falls apart big time by the end. I would say I still like it. I wouldn't say I don't like it. I still like it, but to me, it did dip in quality. Nope was fantastic. I loved Nope. My favorite of the 3, and that's sacrilege to say, I know, 'cause everybody loves Get Out so much. I really liked Get Out, but Nope, I love the first time I watched it, I was disappointed because I expected a horror film, but Nope really isn't a horror film. Nope, it kind of starts that way, and it makes you think, "Okay, here's what we're gonna get." And when we were getting that, I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted." And then it kind of pivots, and it turns more into I heard people say it was kind of a spectacle film, kind of like Jurassic Park, the way they see the dinosaurs, they're big, they're majestic, and that's kind of what happens, and the first time I watched it, I was a little disappointed because I wanted it's like we lack we lack amazing alien invasion horror. There's not very many good ones. I think Signs is the best one, and I struggle to think of any other that even comes close. And I was hoping that this would be the next Signs for me, and it wasn't. And so I was kinda disappointed when I watched it the first time on rewatch, knowing that it's not okay, this isn't a horror film. It has some horror elements, but it's mainly a spectacle film and stuff. Everything after the raining blood scene, the the Slayer scene, everything after that, it pivots to being more and once I knew that on rewatch, I knew it going in, okay, it's not I was able to appreciate it much more. And I think the monkey stuff, the stuff with Jim Gordy or Gordon, horrifying, absolutely terrifying. I think some of the best horror that come out in 2022. Not the movie, it's not the whole movie. That section was terrifying. I'm already scared of monkeys for no reason. I'm just scared of monkeys as is, and so that scene was tense. When that chimp's looking you dead in the eyes, that was rough. Next up, we got Furiosa. This one, it kind of like a lesser version of what I said about Deadpool, way lesser version of what I said about Deadpool. I'm cautiously optimistic, where with Deadpool, I said I was reluctantly pessimistic. This one, I'm cautiously optimistic because I love Fury Road. George Miller is one of my favorites in terms of a visual picture. I think George Miller you have different categories of director, where you have some guys who just you have the Tarantinos who just kill it with the dialogue scenes and the character interactions. That's what he does. You have the guys like Nolan who just kill it with spectacle, and you just see what can be achieved. That's Nolan. He's like pushing the bounds of what can be achieved on in camera. And then you have the visual guys who just are known for just their striking visuals. Snyder is one of those, where it's just that's what he's known for. Love him or hate it, he is known for having visually striking movies. George Miller is someone I'd put in that category. I think his movies are beautiful, and especially Fury Road. I think, Fury Road is one of those movies where you can pause it at any time, pretty much, screenshot it, and there's your wallpaper. That's how I feel about Fury Road. So, inherently and I'm a George Miller fan in general, but I love his visuals, and I love Fury Road, so inherently, I was gonna be excited about this one. Where I'm just a little less than enthusiastic on the cautious side of my optimism comes in, is just simply that it's a Furiosa spinoff. I would've preferred we just stick with the Mad Max side and it been we follow, we move forward rather than a spinoff. Um, I don't hate the idea of a spinoff, I think Anya Taylor-Joy is a great actress. Again, she's another one kinda like I was saying earlier, I think she's one of the better ones working today, and she's already kinda blown up, and I think she's just on the rise. Um, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I have reservations about it, we'll say that. I'm excited for it. I think it's I think it's gonna be a metal movie. It's just there's gonna be stuff in it that you see it, it's just, "Oh, that's cool." Um, that could only exist in a George Miller Mad Max movie. But I do have my reservations simply in just the idea of it being a spinoff of Mad Max. I prefer just to stick with Mad Max. But, you know, we'll see. It's made the list, so obviously I'm excited for it. Next up, we got David Leitch's new movie, Fall Guy. This one, I hold up. Thought I was gonna cough again, but I didn't. Um, I'm a David Leitch fan, so this is an '87 North film where you had Chad Stahelski, and then you had David Leitch, and they kind of split, and you have '87-11, which is John Wick, and then you have '87 North, which is Bullet Train, Atomic Blonde, stuff like that. So, the action, the choreography, everything, it's there. It's the same it's a it's a branch off the same tree. And then you pair it w and then just Bullet Train, a blast with obviously Deadpool was in there too. Bullet Train was a blast. I had so much fun with Bullet Train, and save for one element, I thought it was just near perfect for what I wanted it to be. Not a perfect one, but perfect for what I was wanting out of it. Save for one thing. I'm not gonna get into Bullet Train, but so I've loved everything he's done so far. I think this just has to be at the same quality. If we get Bullet Train quality with that really just cool '87 North action style, I mean, it's kind of it's this is kind of just guaranteed to be good. It's just one of those where it's I know at the very least, I'm gonna have fun with it. It's gonna be a fun action movie that has great fight scenes and fun characters at the very least. And maybe it's awesome. Maybe it's the action movie of the year. Who knows? It has that potential, and so hopefully it is. But at the very least, it's just gonna be a fun movie with cool action. Ryan Gosling being the lead is a big plus because right now he can do no wrong. Ryan Gosling is kind of the sweetheart right now, where he's so likable, he's so charming, he's got such a dry wit that you just can't help but like the guy, and he's very capable. He's proven to be very capable to do what he needs to do to bring these things to life. You have Emily Blunt in here, who's also great, and I just and the premise is fun, you know, you have, and this one actually also has Aaron Taylor Johnson, I'm pretty sure, which I did not know. I found that out later on. If I'm got the right movie, I found that out later and was like, "Okay, cool. It's even better." And yeah, the premise is fun. You just you have a stunt guy who stumbles onto something, and he's gotta rely on his skills and as a stunt guy, and directed by a stunt guy who has already proven himself to be a very capable director. I don't see where this film can really go wrong other than just going too far. And that was the one thing I said about Bullet Train, where it just kind of went a little too far for me into just being, you know, it should have dialed for me, Bullet Train needed to, especially by the end, it needed to dial back a bit, get a little far-fetched for me, and that's how I felt there. And obviously, this movie has potential. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it knocks it out of the park. I think it very well could. I was just checking real quick. I had a hmm. Next up, just like with Shyamalan, how I said he's on my list of favorite directors of all time, that is the sole reason this one's here, and that is Drive Away Dolls. This is the next up as, the next Coen movie. Look, I love the Coen brothers. I haven't seen everything that they've done. There's a few that are hard to get your hands on. You just have to rent, and I'm kind of cheap when it comes to that. I always try to find it free. So there's a couple I haven't seen by these guys, but everything I've seen, I love. I like. I strongly like. Um, they just have for me, they have the perfect balance for comedy, for that dark comedy, or there's what I'm saying. They have the perfect balance for comedy and that darkness where you laugh, but you feel like you shouldn't be laughing. You watch a movie like Fargo, and there's stuff in it that's funny, and you're just like, and it goes extreme the other way, where it's like, "Wow, that's really dark," but at the same time, "Wow, that's really funny." And then they just have a nice wit about them. That their dialogue is kind of like how I explained with Tarantino, who just writes these riveting scenes of where it's just people. I mean, you look at a movie like Inglourious, where they're sitting at a table and they talk for 40 minutes in that bar. It's like 40 minutes long of them just talking and playing a game, and it escalates and escalates and escalates, and then obviously it explodes, but it's like 40 minutes long. It's like only he can pull that off. That's how I feel about these guys, where they can write scenes where it's just quick it's quick wit and the dialogue is just flowing and flowing, and you're laughing, and then you're disturbed by some things, and it's just these guys are great at what they do. And, you know, I was gonna be excited about whatever it was that they did next. It just happens to be this one. I don't really know the plot. I saw the first teaser that they released. I really don't even remember what all the teaser had other than just these 2 girls that you can see on the poster here, stumbling onto something that they're not supposed to be stumbling onto, and they get in way over their heads. If they if all he does is just bring their the that directorial flair that they always have, their writing chops, I'm gonna enjoy this one. I would really love for it to be, like, top tier Cohen because then that's gonna I know that's gonna be a top 10 film for me for the year. Some of these I can look at them and go, "Yeah, if you just do what you're supposed to do, you'll be top 10." There's some on here that even if they just do what they're supposed to do, they're not gonna make you know, it I'm trying to think of what some of them that I've talked about so far. Actually, before let me just look. I mean, I'm just Havoc. Well, maybe not Havoc. The all of them that I've listed so far have the potential to be that. Now, if I was to go to my other one and you look, I mean, like, okay, like Dune 2. Dune 2 is really gonna struggle to make my top. It's gonna have to just do something so incredible and different from the first one to break my top. Kung Fu Panda 4, I don't see it breaking my top 10. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, that's another one. I just these are films that while I'm excited for, even if they just do what they're supposed to do, I don't see them. They would have to be exceptional at what they're doing to make top 10 for me. These ones that I'm talking about like that, like Drive Away Dolls, if it just does what it's supposed to do, if it's just Coens at their best, it it has very high potential to be a top 10 movie. Same with this next one here because this is probably these next few are all like, this is the most anticipated list. This isn't I mean, obviously, by nature, these are movies that I expect to be great, but not all of these. Like Havoc, I don't expect Havoc to be a fantastic movie. I expect it to have awesome action, Tom Hardy, maybe a cool plot, some cool directorial flair, but I'm not expecting Raid 2. I'm not expecting something just and I think it's a Netflix movie. I think it's straight to a Netflix movie. So I'm not expecting a top 10 out of that. Some of these are, or like this one here, this next one, I think I'm in my top 4. What is this? Yeah. These next 4 are movies that I will be disappointed if they're not top 10 level, because all of them should be. And I'm gonna just go ahead and debut number 4 right here, and that is Joker 2. I'm not even gonna try to say the whole title. I would butcher it, especially right now, 'cause for some reason I can't talk straight. I am so excited for this movie. I'm so excited. I like okay, so and I talked about this a little bit in I don't even know what was I doing? Oh, the DC video. When I was talking DC, we were talking Elseworlds, and I was talking with Snorkeling with Dad. For anyone who missed my DC ranking, check that out. It's still up on the channel. On Twitch, you can still see it. On YouTube, it's there. Um, I ranked all the DC EU movies, and I talk about this movie in there because I was answering a question that I got in the chat, and I told this story. I'll go ahead and tell it again like a Cliff Notes version. The first Joker, when I watched it, I really liked it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. But and this is spoilers for not really, not really spoilers for the first one, but kind of, I guess. I'm gonna talk about a little bit of the plot of the first one, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I was disappointed yeah, it is spoilers, now that I think about it. There were a couple of things that I didn't necessarily like about the first one. One of them is kind of unfair to the movie. The second one I've just changed. The first one, which was unfair, is just my expectations going in. It was a Joker film, and I wanted it to work within the Batman mythos, within a Batman world. And for me, when I watched it, you had I think Arthur Fleck is in his 30s, his early 30s or something. In the first Joker, I think he's 32, something like that. And he's really frail and really nervous and stuff. And then you have kid Bruce Wayne. And that for me, when I first watched it, it was like I said, it was just kind of a gatekeeping thing for me, where I immediately wrote that side of the story off because it's like, "This doesn't work. This isn't Joker." He's too old. Batman the age gap between him and Batman is too big, and he's too frail. He's never gonna be, he's never going to become Batman's greatest foe, unless they cheated or something like that, and then they said, "Okay, the Joker that Batman fights was inspired by Arthur." Well, then that compromises the Joker's character, where he's not really Joker, he's a copycat, and so I had problems with it. That was my first big thing when I watched it the first time. The second thing was with the romance plot, and this is where the spoilers for the movie comes in, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out because 'cause I'm about to spoil the twist. So you have right there in the middle of the film where he kind of hits it off with his neighbor, and they kind of date. They really don't date, but they kind of just acquaint where they are out on the town a couple of times with each other. She's there in the hospital with him when his mom goes to the hospital. She goes to his comedy, his stand-up his performances. She's there. And so you get that, and then you get the scene where everything just kinda falls apart for him. He goes to her apartment, he sits down on the couch, and it shouldn't be weird. He sits down, and she comes out, and she's freaked out. She's like, "What are you doing in here?" And he turns around, he looks at her, and he does what kind of started it, which is just a little and what she did to him, which was kind of like their meeting point, and he freaks her out, and you realize and it does a flashback where you see that she was never there. He imagined it, and when I watched it the first time, I was like, "Oh, why'd you do the flashback?" I would have liked it to have been more ambiguous, where it implies where she acts and she goes, "What are you doing here? I can get you some help. You're the guy from down the hall. You're Arthur, right?" And she's acting like she doesn't know him, and he realizes, but we don't see it. It just we don't have to flash back and see him standing alone. We know it. The audience is smart enough to figure it out. And so that was a negative for me when I first watched it. Again, I gave it an 8 out of 10, but that was something that I said when I first watched it. On rewatch, I rewatched it and was like, "You know what? I was just for some reason, I just was really craving a rewatch. I was like, "I just need to watch it again because there's some stuff in it that's just excellent." And so I was like, "I need to rewatch it." And when I was rewatching it, the Batman stuff all of a sudden doesn't matter because I've just grown out of that gatekeeping mindset. I talked about it with Batman v Superman. I talked about it with the first Joker, and then so I just kinda grew out of it. I'm getting a call right now, on my phone from Snackery, and I'm live, and you should be watching. So I'm not answering your call right now as a sign of rebellion, as me standing in rebellion because you're not watching live right now. Anyways, I got sidetracked. Hold up. Anyways, so I watched it and I was like, "Okay, yeah, that is I've changed, definitely. That doesn't bother me at all. Kid Bruce Wayne, grown Joker, okay, cool. This is just a different universe." And so it didn't bother me, and then I was watching and I come up on that scene with the flashback, and it didn't bother me the way it did the first time. The first time I was like, "Ah, I just kinda wish it wouldn't have done that." I really don't like when movies overdo it on the explaining. I would have preferred it just left it ambiguous. And I still would kind of feel that way. I still kind of feel that way a little bit. I think it probably would have been cool to just leave it open to interpretation, but and it's really not open to interpretation. It's just left for the audience to figure out. I probably still would prefer it. It doesn't bother me at all. And when I watched it again, I had to move it up to a 9 out of 10. This is an almost perfect for me. And I don't know necessarily what would push it up to a 10 out of 10. I think I'm just kind of reserving it from being there. It probably could go up the first and so just by nature, I'm excited for this one. But I'm excited for what they're introducing here. So there's a lot of potential for this movie right here to just be absolutely fantastic. You have things that I talked about a little bit just speculative, but obviously Harley Quinn, we already know Harley Quinn's showing up, played by Lady Gaga. We know that and it's one of the most controversial things about this is that it's gonna maybe not be a musical, but it's definitely gonna have some musical elements or musical segments. I don't think the whole film's gonna be a musical, um, but, it has that potential to it. It very well could be, but we know there's a musical element to it. Naturally, with Lady Gaga coming in, of course. So, I like that. I think that sounds really cool. Um, I talked about it when I was breaking down how I felt about Birds of Prey. One of my favorite scenes in Birds of Prey is the, scene where she's being tortured by Black Mask, and she kind of goes into her mind, and you see her twist on diamonds are a girl's best friend. I love that type of stuff, and when you've seen that, I was like, "Yeah, this is Harley Quinn." And so, when I hear that Todd Phillips is planning to introduce a musical element to this, it to me, it's like, that that feels right for Harley Quinn. We're gonna see and even James Gunn's Suicide Squad, you got to see it too, where Harley Quinn has a very flawed way I wouldn't even say flawed, she has a just different way of viewing the world. She sees flowers and music and bright colors and happiness. That's what she sees. It's whatever has happened in her brain. Now, I think this Harley's gonna be a lot darker than Margot Robbie's Harley. I think this Harley is gonna be I think this movie in general is just gonna be really dark, um, and I think the musical aspect is gonna add a dark comedy about it and maybe even a little disturbing where you're watching it, you're like, "Oh, this is actually kinda really this is really messed up, what I'm seeing." Um, and then I think the potential for some cool Arkham stuff, I mean, Todd Phillips released it, I think, on Christmas or New Year's or something, he released, the pictures of Arthur and Arkham and stuff, and, just given where the last one left off, I think that's where it should pick up, is he's locked away in Arkham. Harleen Quinzel comes by to be his therapist after he killed his last one in the first movie. She picks up and she becomes his therapist or his psychiatrist or whatever, and she slowly but surely is becoming seduced by the dark side, and by the end of the movie, they'll just wreak havoc, and I think there's some potential here for some cool courtroom stuff, because obviously he's gonna be on trial, where he killed a guy on live TV. He admitted to killing 3 Wall Street guys. He induced a riot in the city, bunch of riots in the city. So, he's obviously on trial, and so I think there's just a lot of potential for some really cool stuff. And actually, the more I think about what they could do with Joker 2, makes me really wish that they just would've made it work for Matt Reeves' Batverse, because I think it blends perfectly. Um, obviously, that's two-sided. We won't get into that. Next up, Nosferatu. Look, I kind of like what I said about Jordan Peele, where I really like his I really like Get Out. I thought Us was good, and I loved Nope. Eggers is not he's like a better version. So you've got these directors where it's like the new age. You have the new age directors where you have obviously you have the guys who have been around and who's been doing it forever. You have the Sam Raimis, you have the John Carpenters, who John Carpenter direct, um, you've got James Wan, you've got all these guys that have been doing it for a while, and then you kinda have this new wave, like the next generation of horror directors where you have Ari Aster, you have Jordan Peele, you have Robert Eggers, you have Leigh Whannell, uh, not really horror, but I guess kind of. He's dipped into horror a little bit with S. Craig Zahler and Bone Tomahawk. So you have, like, this new wave, of guys where they have 2 or 3 films out, and Robert Eggers is probably my favorite of all of them. The Vitch is fantastic. It's really creepy and eerie, and you get a great performances across the board. Anya Taylor-Joy just really shines, and just unsettling, very unsettling movie, um, and just really cool in terms of the period piece. The Lighthouse is a movie when I watched it the first time, I was just like, "What am I watching?" And it was a movie that stuck with me, where I was just like, "Wow, that all I can think about." And I was just listening to deep dives on YouTube and having to listen to other people talk about it and their reviews and their interpretations and stuff, and trying to figure out on my own what I thought about it and stuff. Such an interesting movie, um, and I grew to really like it a lot. You know, again, I mentioned Pattinson earlier, how he's just killing it on the indie scene. He killed it in The Lighthouse. Him and you have Willem Dafoe, who's one of the best actors living today. And then you get The Northman, which is my favorite Robert Eggers film, and he just knocks it out of the park. I mean, he's just such an interesting director. At the very least, even if you don't like his movies, he's interesting because he's unique. He does things his way. And The Northman was a film that I absolutely loved. It was absolutely in my top 10 for 2022. I'm not sure exactly where it fell. I know for a fact it broke top 10. It may have been 5. So, I loved The Northman. I'm always gonna be excited about what he does next. And it just so happens to be Nosferatu. He's kind of stepping back into horror, whereas kind of the Vivitch was definitely horror. Lighthouse straddled, I don't know what, like, I still don't know what it was. And then Northman kinda dabbled a little bit, but Northman was kind of a little more epic and more, I don't know. I really don't know for Northman either, but this one's seems to be lining up to be more straightforward horror. Obviously, we're gonna get his directorial flair, which I think is just so strong, and then the cast that they're lining up for this is just excellent. Again, Willem Dafoe, one of the best working today. I'm so excited for I was gonna be excited for whatever it was. He could be directing a paint dry, and I would be like, "Yep, let's see it. How's he gonna do it?" Actually, that would probably be intriguing for any director to be excited about directing paint dry. Um, Next up, this one's kinda tied with my first place because technically I'm cheating to have it on here, going by my metric that I said earlier because the release date thing. Um, this one doesn't have a release date, but I'm fairly confident that it's gonna come out this year, and if it does, and if it's on par with the others, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it, this has potential to be my favorite movie of the year. The previous one was very close. That is Maxine. Look, X X and Pearl came out of nowhere. I missed X in the theater. I was traveling at the time and was unable to catch it while it was doing its rounds in the theater. But I heard about it. I remember seeing the trailer, and after that, it was again, like I've been saying, just caught a teaser for it, and I remember thinking while I was watching the teaser, I was like, "Is this are they making another Texas Chainsaw?" And, of course, if you remember, we had Texas Chainsaw come out in 2022. And so when I saw the trailer for X, I was thinking, are we getting another one? Is this like the trailer for the next one already?" And so I was intrigued, and then it said it was X and Ty West. I don't know who Ty West is. I don't know. This looks cool. Looking forward to it. And I wasn't able to catch it in theaters, but I avoided all everything about it. I did not look into it. I did not watch any reviews for it. No spoilers, nothing. And so I completely blind. And and then a couple of months later, I hear about Pearl, and I was like, "Wait a second, a sequel?" I was like, "A prequel to a film we just got?" And so and Pearl was getting ready to come out, and so I finally was able to catch X, and I was like, "Where did this come from? This is incredible." And it came out of nowhere. Just an awesome slasher film, so different from what we're getting right now. It's different, but the same. It was the It's weird because it's definitely paying homage. The Texas Chainsaw vibes is there. You definitely get where you can see Ty West is just kinda wearing his influences on his sleeve, but he puts his own spin on it, and I really like that a lot, and it was just like, "Wow, this came out of nowhere." I'm excited for Pearl, and when Pearl come out, I expected to kinda get more of X, and when I went and watched it, I by the end, I was just kinda sitting in the theater as the credits were rolling. After the first part of the credits, and I was just kinda sitting there listening to the music, and I had a huge grin on my face, and I was sitting there thinking, "If it wasn't for Batman, this would be my favorite movie of the year." I declared that right then and there. This is actually, I won't say it. There was a little I kind of just mashed my sounded like my volume was up over here. It's like, "Oh, I hope not. I didn't want y'all to get an echo." Um, I kinda smashed everything together a little bit. There was a little bit more of a gap there. I watched it, thought it was incredible, instantly made top 5, and the more I thought about it, the higher it was climbing. It started beating other movies. I put it over Northman, surprisingly. I put it over trying to think of what my other top ones were. Everything Everywhere All at Once was up there somewhere, and it was slowly climbing the ranks. And finally, it got up there to the top, and I was like, It's not beating Batman for me because I loved Batman so much." But if I didn't have such a love for Batman, this would be number 1 of the year. And X wasn't I love Pearl obviously more than X, just talking about it here, but I think both of them are incredible quality, and I love what he's doing with how he's changing the vibe with each movie, and now this one's gonna be like a '80s whodunit. That's just gonna be balls to the wall and Mia Goth right in the forefront, just killing it. Who's I said I've been talking about other actresses who've been on the rise. Mia Goth is probably my favorite and the one that I'm watching the closest where it's like everything she does, I'm gonna be excited for. Killing it. And I really don't know what else to say. This one, if it is on the same even if it's not Pearl quality, if we get X quality, this has the potential to at least break top 5. But looking at this year's films and obviously that's not fair because it's January, and so there's still films that are gonna be announced as the year goes on that we don't know about yet, that I don't know about yet, and like I said at the beginning of the video, there's so much news that's been packed into the last 12 days for what this year's got for us that who knows what's gonna come out. And so we may have some big surprise, but just what we've talked about, this one has a very high possibility of being top of the year. I'm so excited. But coming in at my actual first place on here, but really you can tie those 2. Maxine and then this one here kind of tied for my most anticipated. Both of them are elevated by the quality of their previous entry. And this one here, I if it again, just like I said about Maxine, if this film, what you're about to see, is as good or even close to as good as the previous movie, again, top of the year, and that is Ballerina. I am so excited for this movie, and I talked about it a little bit in one of the previous videos. Um, I'm so excited for this movie. I John Wick, for me, John Wick, it just keeps getting better and better. Chad Stahelski is at this point, he's kind of again talking about kind of the new wave of directors. Chad Stahelski is very much in that, has 4 films under his belt, and I he's an incredible director, and he built this just awesome universe, and he set the bar so high, especially last year. He set the bar for action so high that it's gonna be hard not to compare movies to what Chad Stahelski has set. This one, obviously, just because of that, this one just automatically has that baggage of you're attached to my personal favorite action franchise of all time. You're attached to a level of quality almost unmatched in here, maybe Mission Impossible, but even Mission Impossible's had longer to make. Yeah, I won't say duds. Not really. I mean, I guess Mission Impossible 2 is the worst one, but even then, it's still fun. It's John Woo. So but you have such a high bar that this one inherently comes with a level of excitement, but just like I said with the other couple others, whatever the other ones were, I know, one of them was Deadpool, I can't remember what the other one was on this list. There just because of that high bar set, because of how good the quality was for the previous ones for me, how much I loved the previous ones, this one's got a lot on its shoulders. I don't expect it to be as good as John Wick, but I expect it to be I expect it to try, and I expect it to have while it's I don't expect it I'm not and that would be unfair 'cause it's not Stileski directing. So it would be unfair to put this and say, "This has to reach John Wick standards." That's that would be unfair, but it has to at least hit that bar where it has to be above average because of the franchise it's attached to. And so if it is, it could be the worst in the series, but if it's at least close, and in my and it's kind of, it's unpopular, apparently. I didn't know until I really started looking at what other people said. Um, most everybody else's favorite is actually my least favorite, and that's John Wick 2. Um, it's just the way it falls for me. I think they're all near perfect to perfect. So, even being last place, we're talking a 9.5 out of 10, if not higher, you know? But it just something has to be last. For me, 2 is the least enjoyable for me. If this can get even close to John Wick 2, we're talking a best of the year action movie, especially of what's been announced. And so, I'm so excited. I if they like I said, if they can just get close, I'm not gonna hear me complaining. I really hope it is. I don't know. I mean, you got the director is kind of we'll see. We'll see. It's, Lynn Wiseman, who was the Underworld guy, Live Free, Die Hard, what is it, Total Recall? So, we'll see. Not a lot under his belt, but we have, Stileski producing still, you have Reeves is producing. Supposedly, Reeves is gonna appear. Ana de Armas, I'm a big fan. I think she's capable of pulling off the action as long as she has the right director there pushing it. I don't think with Stileski on as a producer, and I assume 8711 is involved. I don't think it can be bad. I mean, obviously it can be. I don't think it will be bad, but it has a lot on its shoulders in terms of the bar it needs to hit, and if it can get close, I think it's the potential to be best of the year. Same with Maxine. If it can be even close to the bar set by the previous, I think we're talking best of the year and one of the best horror franchises, especially if they just cap it off with perfect little trilogy. It'd be one of the best horror trilogies ever made. So yeah, that's my most anticipated of the year. Let me know for YouTube. Let me know down below in the comments what your most anticipated movies are. You know, you can critique what I've said about my list. I mean, obviously, my list is just my list. I doubt very many people have Havoc on there or Drive Away Dolls or Trap, but you know, I'm excited. That's what makes this fun. You know, so let me know down below what your most anticipated is. If you're on Twitch, I'll see you later when we jump on for the. I'll probably be streaming some game tonight. Although probably Lethal Company. We'll see what happens. Been a lot of Lethal Company lately. Um, but yeah, just let me know down below. Like, subscribe on YouTube, and just be looking out because there's going to be a lot of videos like this coming up. Again, I talked about at the beginning of this video, and I'll say it again for those of you who didn't catch it at the beginning. Me and Snorkeling with Dad, a longtime collaborator, are going to be going live sometime within the next few days. It just depends on when the schedules can align. It by next Thursday, I'll say that Thursday or Friday. So within the next week, we're going to be going live and doing a big breakdown slash review of the Beekeepers or the Beekeeper, David Ayer's new film, which I just watched it earlier today, and I have my thoughts, and I'm kind of reserving them for that video. So definitely be tuned for that. That's going to be fun. That's probably the next big live stream, but there's some big ones coming up this year for sure. Obviously, just the standard ones where I'm going to be just reviewing, but there's a big Snyder one coming up for sure. There's a big M Night Shyamalan one coming up. So just be on the lookout because there's some cool stuff coming up. Um, and yeah, that's gonna do it. So, and just because of the way I have my setup, there's always a weird countdown. So we're just gonna have to ignore the countdown where it says starting soon and just go with it. In case I don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.